Send up a Sacamo, way high, hey, oh. Saki and a keys wash, hey, hey, oh. Paponi sequin, way high, hey, oh. Na mesa keys wash, hey, hey, oh. I'm calling the braves and the chiefs, okay, to come for what's called Saki and a keys wash, which means time to plant the corn in Wampanoag. So at the time of planting the corn, this is when the herring are swimming up the river, they're coming from the ocean, we're catching the herring, we're smoking them. Some of the herring we use to plant in the fields. Because we use them, they put the protein and nitrogen and everything back into the ground. That's how we grew everything. So we grew in what we call the three sisters: the corn, the beans, and the squash.
And I am a farmer and activist and writer at Soulfire Farm, and have been so honored and blessed to be part of this collective of Northeast Farmers of Color since the beginning, just over 2 years ago. We originally came together because being a Black or brown person and farming and living on lands in the Northeast is lonely. And a lot of times we're surrounded by neighbors who do not like us, who are skeptical of us, maybe sometimes even act in ways that are violent towards us. Also because many of us did not have any land. We may be farming on other people's farms, or if we did have land, we wanted to share it and be more accountable in the way that we had lands, but we're feeling alone. So we started coming together for mutual aid, and that still is the foundation of the work. So every meeting, including this morning, we had a mutual aid share, which means each person says, this is what I have to offer the group, this is what I need from the group. And it might be help with fundraising, or putting up a high tunnel, or a place to lay your head and have a nap and feel safe. But those were the type of things that we were sharing with each other. Last year, we decided to do a project together. And that project is very ambitious. The project is to bring together Black, Indigenous, Latinx, Asian farmers and earth lovers across the Northeast to figure out how to get our land back. As folks know, hopefully, the land that we are on is stolen land. In the Northeast, there are many tribal communities: Nipmuc and Wampanoag, Narragansett, Abenaki, Mohican, Schaghticoke, Mohegan. There are many, many communities, all of whom have experienced attempted genocide and displacement. And so we need to acknowledge that original sin of the United States. Additionally, many of us who are people of color also experience displacement as a result of the same forces. So as Black Americans, our people were stolen from, indigenous people stolen from the continent of Africa, and our lands were taken and then forced to settle here. Similarly, Asian and Latinx folks, because of trade pressures mostly and warfare, forced from their homelands to come here. And so we believe that we have a lot more in common than we have different. And even though the empire tries to seed mistrust between us and keep us fighting each other instead of working together, we've decided to do the bold and courageous task of collaborating, because right now in this country, 98% of the world land is controlled by white people. So we have a long way to go before we need to fight each other over the land, because there's a lot of land that rightfully can be returned to our communities. So this morning we were talking about this land trust that we're working on. A land trust is a legal entity, it's a nonprofit, that is a vehicle to receive and hold lands as a community. The challenge is that white man's law, because of enclosure in Europe, is very focused on individual private property, and it's hard to do anything else. A land trust is one vehicle, one mechanism for shared lands, and land stewardship that is accountable to community.
So we continue doing this with the children. A lot of them have grown, a lot of them are gone now. My son is still with me. He's actually out there on my booth. We do arts and crafts, my whole family together.
But when you separate us, that's where you get where you're at this point now. Because when we're separated, then that's how they can infiltrate us to I and mine. No, we have to come together to say, if you don't have something, I have it. And it doesn't make a difference how you get it, just like what Two Hawks was talking about doing it Aboriginal way when we did a sit-in on Brown University because they never signed a treaty for that land. But if we signed a treaty for the land in Tiverton, we got to use other means as artifacts and burial grounds to get back what was entitled back to us.
Muy necesitada, que si ustedes fueran testigos de ir a ver esas rentas ahí, demasiada gente pobre, y le está diciendo, ¿qué es lo que hace? Hace poquito.
Cooperativas de terreno. Y una de las cosas que veíamos es que, bueno, que las cooperativas de terreno son una de las soluciones para tener vivienda accesible.
Strengthen it up with sinew, because if you don't put the sinew around it, then it can splinter off.
That's right. So there is military enforcement here.
Feedback.
So, and we would have people from different places, but especially in this group.
It's like overlapping with what Jim's talking about, the idea of reducing the market value of your land through an easement, which lowers your taxes. Having shared ownership with a land trust, which we've also done, which because then you don't buy the land, and so you're just paying a ground lease, it's less. And also some of these strategies for reducing taxes through some of the programs our states have. There's in Massachusetts, there's an open space program, forestry program, and an ag program. New York just has the latter too. Land that we already own as individuals. There are 2 or 3 farmers here who are interested in potentially putting their land into the trust. Perhaps even more importantly, the land trust can receive donations of land, and we already have folks asking to donate land to us, which is very powerful, and then give out lifetime leases, 99-year leases to farmers, earth keepers, or simply transfer the land to a tribal community or to another nonprofit for outright ownership. Another tool the land trust will use is a cultural easement, which is similar to a conservation easement in that it puts a restriction on the deed as to how the land can be used. But instead of just saying this will be a forest forever, a cultural easement says this land forever and ever will give access to this particular indigenous community. There are land projects around the country who are looking to us as an example already. So about 6 months after we do this, expect the Southeast to have one and the Northwest. So this is very important history that we're making. It hasn't been done like this ever before. So we can feel hopeful. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Katana to Bande, hey, 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 oh. Thank you for the earth and sky. Thank you for the water and the rocks. Thank you for the trees and just for today. Great Spirit.